duration of a movie's theatrical run is a fascinating and ever-evolving aspect of the film industry. It's a complex equation that involves more than just ticket sales, and the factors at play are constantly shifting. The future of cinema is at stake, and it's a story that deserves to be told. In the past, predicting a movie's theatrical lifespan was relatively straightforward. It was primarily determined by financial performance and the competition it faced in the weeks following its release. However, the landscape has changed dramatically, and a multitude of factors now influence how long a film stays in theaters. The rise of streaming services, the decline of physical media, and the increasing costs of producing blockbuster films have all contributed to a shift in the way studios and cinemas plan their theatrical releases. Over the last few years, the average theatrical window has ranged from 30 to 45 days for wide releases, but this varies from year to year and film to film. But here's where it gets controversial. The success of certain franchises and movie types that were once considered sure bets at the box office is no longer a guarantee. Take, for instance, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which has recently faced challenges, or the unexpected phenomenon of Oppenheimer, which captured the public's imagination. These examples highlight the unpredictability of the modern film industry. Despite these complexities, we can still make informed predictions about a film's longevity in theaters. Box office performance during the first few weeks remains a strong indicator, but other factors come into play as well, such as streaming synergies and the time of year a movie is released. Box office performance still reigns supreme. In a market that is becoming increasingly complex, box office numbers are the primary factor determining how long a movie will stay in cinemas. If a film is generating revenue for theaters, they'll want to keep it on the big screen. On the other hand, if a movie underperforms, it's likely to be replaced quickly to make way for a potentially more successful release. A great example of this is the 2023 film Oppenheimer. Despite being an R-rated, non-franchise film, it achieved the longest theatrical window of the year, lasting an impressive 122 days. Its success can be attributed to its status as the third highest-grossing R-rated movie ever, with a global box office gross of just under $1 billion. When a film generates such significant revenue, other factors become less relevant, and theaters are eager to keep it playing. However, Oppenheimer's success wasn't solely due to its box office performance. The film also benefited from the star power of its director, Christopher Nolan, who has become one of the biggest draws in recent years. His cultural clout and the marketing support his films receive undoubtedly contributed to the extended box office success. The COVID-19 pandemic reshaped theatrical windows. As theaters reopened after the initial wave of the pandemic, studios adopted hybrid release models to adapt to the significantly reduced in-person attendance. Major films were released simultaneously on streaming platforms and in cinemas, with Warner Bros. Leading the way with this approach. Films like Wonder Woman 1984 and Godzilla vs. Kong were made available on HBO Max on the same day as their theatrical premieres. Prior to the pandemic, movies typically enjoyed theatrical exclusivity for around 90 days. While this didn't always mean they played for that long, it ensured that digital and physical home releases were delayed until after this period. However, the impact of the pandemic, combined with other industry disruptions, like the Writers Guild of America strike in 2023, led to this window being shortened for many releases. Even after the day-and-date streaming model ended post-pandemic, many studios continued to release their films digitally much sooner than the previously standard 90-day period. While the pandemic's impact on theater closures played a significant role, streaming itself was a major catalyst for this shift. Streaming's influence on theatrical time. As industry strikes and a global pandemic reshaped the film industry, streaming emerged as the undisputed king of media. What was once a small market dominated by Netflix, Hulu, and HBO Max became incredibly competitive during and after the pandemic, with NBC Universal, Disney, Paramount, and others launching their own platforms. As theater attendance began to recover, studios found new incentives to bring fresh content to digital platforms as quickly as possible. While many films are still released for purchase on Blu-ray or VOD services after their theatrical windows and then later on streaming, the decline in physical media sales has made streaming the primary secondary market for extracting extra value from a theatrical release. Although theaters have improved since the immediate aftermath of the pandemic, they have never fully recovered. The trend of people adopting at-home viewing, whether through streaming or digital rentals, as their primary method of watching movies and shows, continues to be a cause for concern. This has led many studios to significantly reduce the pre-COVID 90-day theatrical exclusivity window, moving media to home venues as quickly as possible to capitalize on viewer interest before it fades. Despite calls from movie theater representatives for countermeasures, such as a standard 45-day exclusivity window across studios, it seems unlikely that such measures will be widely adopted. Different theaters, different durations. When discussing the length of a movie's theatrical run, it's important to acknowledge the variety of cinemas. While large chains like Regal and AMC dominate the industry, they operate differently from smaller, independent theaters, which can be more common and hold significant community influence in certain markets. Smaller theaters with fewer screens face challenges in keeping older movies running, as these limitations require frequent changeovers to accommodate the latest releases. The same is true for indie movies. While the opening weekend and the first few weeks are crucial for any film, word of mouth can give longevity to films that don't initially gain widespread popularity. Pixar's Elemental from 2023 is a great example of this. However, if a movie lacks the star power or marketing budget of a bigger release, it may never have the opportunity to build a word-of-mouth reputation. As the budgets for blockbusters continue to balloon, the release slate of any given year becomes increasingly dependent on a smaller number of event releases, rather than the steady stream of smaller blockbusters that was once the norm. Individual films need to perform better and better to justify their enormous expenses, which has resulted in a shrinking middle class of cinematic releases, the standard theatrical run. In recent years, the standard theatrical run for a movie has been around 40 days. This provides some time for a film to gain traction, but unfortunately, there isn't much room for films to recover from slow starts at the box office. The combination of higher budgets, shrinking exclusivity windows, diminished attendance, and the rise of streaming has created a challenging environment for individual movies to become theatrical successes. However, there is still hope for those who believe that no home experience can match the magic of watching a film on the big screen with fellow movie enthusiasts. Despite apocalyptic predictions of theaters dying, the business has endured, and unexpected sensations like Oppenheimer and massive modern hits like Avatar: The Way of Water prove that there is still a strong desire among audiences to experience movies in theaters. Let's hope that this sentiment continues to grow as the industry navigates an ever-changing landscape.